Welcome back, everyone, to our final deep dive into 847 Fillmore Street.
Oh, it's going to be hard to say goodbye to this one.
We know, right?
Uh,
But we're going out with a bang this time.
a grand finale.
Exactly. We're bridging the past and the present, creating a timeline from the Victorian era all the way to its 2025 rebirth.
Wow, that's quite a span.
It is. You've heard individual stories from its walls, but now we're going to see how those stories connect.
I'm excited to see how it all comes together.
Me too, so get ready for some twists and turns.
Twists and turns. Like what?
Well, we've got political intrigue, fires, and a modern transformation that's going to make you rethink what historic home even means.
Intriguing. It's amazing how each layer we've peeled back reveals something new about this house and about San Francisco itself.
Right. From lavish Victorian beginnings and scandals to becoming a hub for political movements, 847 Fillmore has seen it all.
And let's not forget those fires.
Oh yeah, those fires have definitely shaped this house.
In ways you might not expect.
More than just destruction, they were moments of reinvention.
Definitely catalysts for change.
So let's start at the very beginning.
Back to the Victorian era,
1896 to be exact,
when 847 Fillmore was built,
alongside its twin at 837.
standing as a symbol of prosperity in a booming San Francisco.
Grand Queen Anne Mansion all the way,
Can you imagine the scene?
all the intricate detail,
Soaring ceilings,
that sense of grandeur.
reflecting the economic boom of the late 19th century.
And of course, it was home to some pretty colorful characters.
Oh, I love a good character.
Like Henry Reedon, for instance.
Remind me, who was he again?
He was a brewer and a fire commissioner.
Oh, right.
Lived a pretty lavish lifestyle, but unfortunately,
Bizarrely.
it made him a target during that 1906 burglary spree.
Ah, right. That spree really gives you a sense of what San Francisco was like back then.
A city grappling with rapid growth.
And sadly, a rise in crime as well.
Now, fast forward to the 1930s.
A new era for 847 Fillmore,
It becomes a social hall.
owned by Herman and Rose Marcus.
This is where things get really interesting.
Why? What happens?
Enter Ben Dobbs,
Now who's Ben
a
Dobbs?
charismatic, young communist leader.
A communist leader in a Victorian mansion.
He used the house as a central hub for the Young Communist League.
Wow, that's a change of pace.
Imagine it. Passionate speeches, clandestine meetings, fiery debates.
All happening within these walls.
And it wasn't just talk.
What do you mean?
Historical records show Dobbs had some pretty ambitious plans
Oh,
to infiltrate organizations
really?
and spread communist ideology throughout San Francisco.
It's quite a contrast to the house's Victorian origins.
Definitely a reflection of those times,
Intense social and political change.
not just in San Francisco, but across the nation. Okay, so we can't talk about 847 Fillmore without mentioning
The fire.
the fires.
Yeah.
3 major ones, to be exact.
1937, 1957.
And the big one in 1964.
That one was devastating.
Each fire left its mark on the house.
But that 1964 fire is the one that really stands out.
Completely destroyed the 4th floor.
Led to the building's current stucco-clad facade.
A big departure from that original Victorian design,
It's almost like the house was reborn from the ashes.
taking on a new identity for a changing city.
And that brings us to the period we'll focus on today, from 1964 to the present.
Seeing 847 Fillmore transform from a fire-damaged structure to the modern masterpiece it is now.
It's a pretty incredible transformation.
But before we get into that, let's acknowledge the impact of that 1964 fire.
It is pretty devastating.
Building inspection reports from that time.
What do they say?
Damaged framing, roofing, millwork, the whole works.
Wow.
The owner at the time, Hilton Cobb,
I remember reading about him.
lost everything.
Everything.
Even thousands of dollars in government bonds.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
It's hard to imagine the devastation he must have felt.
But from those ashes, a new chapter began.
So, starting in 1964, how did the house go from this state of disrepair to what we see in these 2025 photos?
It's a story of resilience, adaptation, and a bit of architectural magic, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. So, walk us through those key phases.
Okay, so right after the fire.
1964.
Yep, the focus was on stabilizing the house, basic structural work.
Makes sense.
Then, in 1965,
What happened then?
they stuccoed the exterior.
Giving it that modern look we see today.
A far cry from its Victorian origins.
It's striking, isn't it? To see 837 Fillmore right next door,
With its ornate details. Classic Queen Anne style.
standing right next to 847, now sleek and modern.
Like a visual representation of the passage of time.
They took such different paths.
837, steadfast, a reminder of the past.
Divided into multiple apartments now?
And 847 embracing change, evolving with the city.
But the transformation wasn't just on the outside, was it?
Not at all.
The 2024 renovation notes mention everything from seismic upgrades to a gourmet kitchen.
It was a total reinvention.
And speaking of reinvention, let's talk about that rooftop deck.
Oh, yes, the rooftop deck.
500 square feet of sustainable Ipewood, panoramic city views.
With City Hall framed perfectly in the distance.
Breathtaking.
Imagine standing up there, taking it all in.
Soaking up the California sun.
It's a tranquil oasis on top of a house that's seen so much.
From clandestine communist gatherings to a major fire.
The layers of history are incredible.
But let's dive into that 2024 renovation.
Where things get really interesting.
What stands out to you as the most significant changes?
It's like they combined the best of both worlds.
Victorian charm and modern sensibilities.
Exactly, to create something unique.
Remember, this is a 4-story structure now.
Main residence and a separate garden-level apartment.
They managed to fit in 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and those gorgeous living spaces.
All while staying true to the original footprint.
Not an easy feat.
And the attention to detail is amazing.
What do you mean?
They kept those soaring ceilings, restored the original millwork and crown molding.
On those fireplaces.
Absolutely stunning.
Whispers of Victorian elegance.
But then you have those modern touches.
Like what?
A gourmet chef's kitchen, high-end appliances.
Luxurious bathrooms, sleek finishes.
A family room that flows seamlessly onto a backyard deck.
It's a dream home for the modern era.
But with a nod to its historical roots.
Exactly. And they didn't skimp on the practicalities either.
Not at all.
Remember that full seismic upgrade back in 2007?
Yeah, this house is built to last.
And that massive retaining wall along the northern boundary?
Securing the house against any potential shifts.
Solid bedrock, after all.
They weren't messing around when it came to structural integrity.
But beyond the practicalities, this house is designed to be lived in.
To be enjoyed.
Those outdoor spaces just call out for summer barbecues and late-night conversations.
Wraparound deck, the lushly landscaped backyard, that pergola hammock.
It's a private oasis in the heart of the city.
And then, of course, the crown jewel, that rooftop deck.
A good book, a glass of wine, watching the fog roll in.
It's a world away from those smoky, crowded rooms where Ben Dobbs rallied his fellow communists.
This house has truly gone through a metamorphosis.
It has, but even with all these changes, it's still 847 Fillmore.
The bones are there, the stories linger.
That's what makes it so special.
It's a living testament to San Francisco's history.
And now it's ready for its next chapter.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a closer look at that garden-level apartment.
Oh, yes, that's where things get even more intriguing.
It's amazing how they created a completely separate living space.
That still feels connected to the main house.
It's got its own entrance, a full kitchen, a spacious bedroom.
Everything you need for comfortable living.
And it's not just some basic basement apartment.
They use the same high-end finishes, that attention to detail.
Even the garden apartment has a fireplace.
No corners cut.
And that kitchen.
Oh, tell me about it.
It's modern farmhouse style, all clean lines, and minimalist cabinetry.
But so much counter space and storage.
And that adorable breakfast nook built right into the countertop.
Perfect for cozy weekend brunches.
Those little touches are what make this renovation so special.
They really thought about how people would live in this space.
How they would use it.
And that attention to detail is everywhere you look.
Okay, so we've covered the Victorian origins, the fires, the political intrigue, and now the modern renovation.
It's been quite a journey.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle.
Oh, and what's that?
How this house is being presented to the world.
Ah, yes, we are in the digital age.
Potential buyers expect more than just static photos.
They want to experience the space.
And that's where Cubicasa comes in.
Cubicasa.
This technology is revolutionizing how we experience real estate.
I've heard of it.
And 847 Fillmore is a perfect example.
Tell me more.
It's remarkably easy to use.
How so?
A quick scan with your smartphone.
Boom.
You've got interactive 3D tours, detailed floor plans, even photorealistic video renders.
You can step right inside the house.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
Especially for a historic property like this.
Where the layout and the details are so important.
Cubicasa really brings it to life.
You can explore every nook and cranny, get a feel for the flow of the rooms.
And appreciate the craftsmanship up close.
It's like having a personal tour guide right in your pocket.
And for potential buyers who can't be there in person.
Out of state, overseas,
it's a game changer.
They can experience 847 Fillmore as if they were physically there.
Which is so important for a house like this.
With so much history and character.
It allows them to connect on a deeper level.
Exactly. It's bridging that gap between the tangible and the digital.
allowing this beautifully renovated Victorian to tell its story to a whole new audience.
Which brings us full circle.
How so?
We started this deep dive wanting to understand the story of 847 Fillmore.
Right.
And now, thanks to technology like Cubicasa, that story is being shared with the world in a way we never imagined.
It really makes you think about what other innovations are on the horizon,
How we'll experience historic properties in the future.
what new stories we'll be able to uncover.
It's an exciting time to be interested in history.
Absolutely. But before we get lost in the future, let's appreciate the present.
847 Fillmore is a stunning example of how a historic home can be reimagined.
For modern living without losing its soul.
And with its grand debut just around the corner, this is only the beginning of its next great adventure.
I can't wait to see what the future holds for this amazing house.
Me neither. But now let's move into the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, what are we focusing on?
Let's shift our focus to what we can learn from 847 Fillmore's journey.
What does this story tell us about the ever-evolving nature of a city, a neighborhood, and even a home? It really is remarkable how 847 Fillmore has blended old and new so well.
Right, like how they've used artwork and design in this renovation.
It's such an interesting mix.
Not what you'd expect in a Victorian, but somehow it works.
It's bold, unexpected.
Totally.
Like in the primary bedroom.
What do they do there?
They have this playful giraffe plush toy on the bed.
A giraffe.
Yep, and elegant orange pillows.
That's a cool juxtaposition.
Right, a whimsical touch that still feels sophisticated.
And the artwork throughout the house.
Yes, abstract pieces, pops of blue, contemporary sculptures, even some vintage books.
It's like they took that classic Victorian and gave it a modern artistic spin.
Exactly, it feels fresh and vibrant.
But they didn't go overboard.
Right, those neutral colors and light oak floors create a calming backdrop.
It's all about balance.
Interplay between old and new.
Not just updating, but creating a conversation between past and present.
And you see that conversation in every room.
Like where?
The dining room, for example.
Okay, what did they do there?
Kept the millwork and ceilings, the historical details.
What then added in?
Sleek dining chairs, a modern light fixture.
A dialogue between eras.
Exactly. And that carries over to the exterior, too.
You mean how the twins look so different now?
Exactly. Remember those early descriptions? Practically identical.
Classic Queen Anne all the way.
Now, 837, with its pastels and ornate trim, is like a time capsule.
While 847, with its stucco and sleek rooftop, feels almost futuristic.
Yet they're both beautiful.
Like siblings who took different paths, but both ended up exactly where they should be.
I love that analogy.
It speaks to San Francisco itself.
Embracing change, reinventing, but still respecting its roots.
847 Fillmore embodies that duality.
Perfectly said.
You know, as we talk about these renovations, I keep thinking about those dictograph recordings from the 1930s.
Oh, yes. Those were fascinating.
Ben Dobbs and the Young Communist League.
A window into the political climate.
But also glimpses into the lives of the people who lived there then.
It's not every day you get to eavesdrop on history.
We heard conversations, laughter, moments of tension.
Learned about the Marcus family, their dog Flash.
Who apparently saved the house from a fire.
It's those details, those human moments that bring history to life.
Reminding us that even in times of upheaval, people are still people.
With their families, their pets, their everyday worries.
All playing out against these larger events.
It makes you wonder about those who lived there after the '64 fire.
What were their experiences like?
How did they shape the house, and how did the house shape them?
Unfortunately, the historical record is a bit thin for that period.
We do know that the Fillmore district went through a big transformation in the 1970s.
Urban renewal, displacement of families and businesses.
I wonder how those changes affected 847 Fillmore.
It's definitely a question worth considering.
And it highlights that history is never static.
Always evolving.
New layers being added all the time.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm struck by how much we've learned.
But also by how much more there is to uncover.
We've only scratched the surface.
And that's the beauty of it.
Always more to discover.
And I have a feeling 847 Fillmore, with its rich history and stunning transformation, will keep captivating us for a long time to come.
Well said. Now, as we move into the final part of our deep dive, let's think about what we can learn from this journey.
What does 847 Fillmore's story tell us about the ever-evolving nature of a city, a neighborhood, and even a home?
It's amazing to think about everything 847 Fillmore has witnessed.
From Victorian grandeur to political activism.
The devastating fire that reshaped it,
This house has seen it all.
and through it all,
Adapted, evolved.
a beautiful blend of old and new.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
What are the key takeaways?
what does 847 Fillmore's journey tell us about how cities, neighborhoods, even homes evolve?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that change is inevitable.
Right.
Buildings, like cities, are always evolving
Good
to new needs, new circumstances.
847 Fillmore started as a symbol of prosperity, then a social hall then,
A hub for activism.
a fire-ravaged shell.
And now, a modern sanctuary.
Through it all, it's remained a vital part of the city.
It's a reminder that nothing stays the same. But that doesn't mean we lose what makes a place special.
And I think 847 Fillmore highlights the importance of context.
How so?
We can't understand the present without acknowledging the past,
The decisions of previous owner,
the events that unfolded within these walls.
all of it has shaped what 847 Fillmore is today,
It's like those layers we've been talking about.
adding depth and complexity to the story.
And ultimately, that's what makes this house and any historic building so fascinating.
Absolutely.
There's a valuable lesson there.
What's that?
Whether we're renovating a house, building a business, or just navigating our own lives.
We're all part of a larger story.
And by understanding that story, by honoring the past while embracing the present,
We create something truly special.
it's a reminder that history isn't just something we read about.
It's woven into the fabric of our lives.
Speaking of history, 847 Fillmore has also shown us that beauty can be found in unexpected places.
Oh, definitely.
It went through near total destruction in that 1964 fire,
A complete transformation of its exterior.
but it never lost its charm.
It's a testament to human creativity and resilience.
I agree.
Sometimes the most beautiful things are those that have faced challenges.
Shaped by experience, they urge stronger, more beautiful.
What doesn't destroy you makes you more beautiful.
I love that.
So, as we wrap up,
What's resonating with you, our listeners?
what stands out about 847 Fillmore?
Is it the echoes of Victorian grandeur, the spirit of activism, the resilience of a home reborn?
Or the allure of a modern sanctuary built on history?
Because this deep dive has been about so much more than just one house.
It's about the evolution of cities,
The interplay of past and present.
the power of storytelling.
We invite you to continue the conversation.
What other buildings hold secrets waiting to be uncovered?
What stories from your city resonate with 847 Fillmore's journey?
How does the past shape your present?
What stories will you leave behind for future generations?
Those are some powerful questions.
And as you walk past those old buildings, those places that whisper with history,
Remember that every structure has a story to tell.
all you have to do is listen.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive.
Into 847 Fillmore Street
We hope you've enjoyed exploring its many layers.
and uncovering the stories within its walls.
We'll see you next time for another journey into the stories that shape our world.
Goodbye for now.